Happy New Year!
Welcome to Gen Z Mutual Podcast. I am Aisha.
I'm Ahmed.
And since it's the new year, we thought that we'll talk about New Year's resolutions and goals and everything in between. So, as a context, like a history of like New Year's resolution, some people predate like the tradition. Some people like trace back the tradition of like having a New Year's resolution to like religious connections. They tie it back to once upon a time some religions. I can't remember what religion exactly. I feel like there is a Christian tradition, something to do with New Year's resolution. But then for a fact, I think something like Roman-ish. They had this tradition where every New Year they would pray to the god where January was named after. Like where, whom, whatever, like
Yeah.
I think it's like Jean or something, the god's name. But if so for some people, perhaps they do have like New Year's tradition and New Year's resolution and goals as like a religious approach. But I think a lot of us, the reason why we have a New Year's goal is more to the fact that when it's a new year, there's lots of things that resets in the new year, and so it's like, well, personally for me, it's like strategic for you to have like new year. It's for you to have like new goals and like resolution, because it's like a very timely-ish thing.
You have this new year, so everything's like going to.
There are some things which is like it's just the tradition is just secularized version of a religious tradition, but in the case of New Year, I don't feel like Halloween in Western countries, there are a lot of people who just, it's already secularized. It's no longer religious, either like Samhain or All Hallows Eve. Like it's no longer tied to either of them. But then it definitely is still traced back to
that. Yeah. And that it's traced back to that for sure. Like,
there's no other celebration.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, in fact, nowadays a lot of people just celebrate it for like just an excuse. I mean, for some people they go trick or treat and spooky stuff, which obviously has relation to like Samhain. But then some people just use it as an excuse to like party, So
or to just take a break from work.
Yeah,
it's a holiday.
So it is, there is that religious trace. But I think New Year's goal is just I mean, I cannot make a statement for a fact because I do not know, but I feel like it seems like it is just a time that a lot of people makes goals for. I mean, because in fact, if you look into like countries as like governments, a lot of them would make a new year sort of like goal, like with belanjawan or like budget. So they have like this year they will achieve
10-year goal.
Thing. But then like even 1 year, because it is that very strategically time to like put a marker, like this year. So I think I highly believe that by now a lot of places it is just that. And there's no religious. I'm very certain that there's still a lot of people who does it religiously,
Yeah, definitely so.
Well, not still, because I mean, still would mean that it definitely is a religious tradition. For some people, it is a religious tradition. But for others, I feel like there is no connotation or historic, because what defines is whether or not it's historically linked. I feel like it is not historically linked. It is just that countries often have that as a marker for progress. People in general want to make themselves better. It's such a good deadline to make yourself better and like, a fresh start and like new work, new school term, etc. to make yourself better. So I think it's just that. Yeah. So on that line, what's your New Year's goal plan? Well, okay, let's start off. What do you plan? Like this year, what's your
2022? Well, first of all, the thing that I set high, like as a highest priority, would be to change myself in a few ways. Specifically, productivity.
Turning new leaves.
Turning new leaves, relating to productivity mainly. I mean, that's what I've mentioned in the previous episode regarding like how I took my exams and then I, all that. So trying to fix on that aspect, and that's roughly always what I aim for generally as of late, especially and at least. So things like managing the time properly, managing how I do things, making sure that I do things efficiently based on the time I spent on it. So all of it generally regarding that. But there's also one where there's also like another type of goal I set, which is more to like regarding skill sets and that kind of things. So as an example, I plan to be able to speak more, being more fluent in German, increase my German proficiency. So that's like more. Technically, it's a product of
being efficient and
productivity. So, but then
so it's like you have these things that you want to change from yourself, and then you want like these like sort of like end
results.
effects. That's a cool way to see it, you know, because I think when I was younger, I might have like. I can't like exactly remember my goals when I was younger, but then I feel like as long as I remember, my goals had always been just on the improving myself, turning new leaf kind of thing. Usually it is like building healthier habits, because I think that, you know, as we mentioned in that building healthy habits episode, it's like the habits that you have is kind of what results in what you're able to do, and you know, etc.
Because the things that you're used to and things that you.
So there's like the habits in the sense of your mannerism, and also habits in the sense of the things that you do in general. So for this year, I feel like for the longest time, my habits are usually things like to make myself more effective, efficient, productive, you know, like on that sense, like it's always on these kind of results. But I feel like I do not focus that much on improving myself in the inside. Like I focus so much on things like mannerism, what do you call it, like habit, like, you know, external habits
the thing that you do, the action,
and than less on things like what I think
mindset, or
not exactly mindset, but kind of like how I approach life in a more internal manner, how I deal with my own self. I feel like throughout life I've been so focused on trying to become better and best. Like that's like my quote since I was 6, I think, like to make yesterday good, today better, tomorrow the best. So like it was on a school banner, so I was like, yeah, that's good, you know. So I've been living with that. So but then I've focused too much on like external betterment, you know, like trying to be efficient, trying to be able to reach many things, milestones, you know, like so much external gains. I do not focus on myself as much. So there's like really things of like how I approach life, how I take situations, to be more mindful of things like, for example, if I experience a bad day, to be more mindful of the effects of that bad day. Like I do take approaches like, okay, it's okay, you know, some bad days happen and stuff like that, but how do I define what it affects me? You know, like I may go like, I'm not, you know, upset with a bad day. It's, you know, bad days happen and I'm not angry with people and etc. But I may still punish my own self for allowing the bad day to happen, you know, stuff like that. So I feel like I haven't like properly made a concrete, you know, idea, because I mean, spoiler, that it's not yet 1st January when we record this, obviously, you know, but then by 1st January I hope that I would already, you know, have like concrete, like this is the kind of things I'm aiming for. Though at the same time, I think in building goals, one of the things to be very careful about is to not make it too strict and constricted, and yet still make it that you would follow it. Because there's like 2 pitfalls in like failing goals. One is that you set too high aims, you know, things that is not realistic.
I'm going to moon today. tomorrow. This year, sorry. Wrong word. Yeah.
So, it's like unrealistic. Or B, you are too strict on the goal. Because the thing is that for me personally, what not defines, what's the word? In building goals, in reaching anything, there is the your action, but there is also the situational influence,
Right.
Yeah. The situational influence, when you are measuring a goal, you do actually consider the situational influence. That is how you can tell whether or not you can go to the moon.
Yeah.
If you are in the position to go to the moon, it might be definitely logical, but if you're not, then it's not.
For like Neil Armstrong, for example, on the year that he's going to the moon, or at least the month that he's going to the moon, when it's like certain already, then he could, or somewhat certain, he could aim.
Or it doesn't have to be Neil Armstrong. It can just be the NASA team.
Yeah.
When they are going to make that expedition,
they're already putting the aim to go to the moon,
and
not
so
not
they
to go to the moon themselves, but
and so they do like make a preparation. Okay, they need to do this and that.
Yeah.
But there's still a situation. They have the team to do it.
Yeah.
They have the knowledge to do it. There's still things that defines it can be happened.
Yes.
So
it can happen.
It can happen. Sorry. So similar in our cases, but then sometimes because these situations are so small, we don't realize it. So there are these constants that we rely on to make something happen, but we do not consciously think of it. And sometimes when these things change, you are not able to realize that goal, and it may not be your fault,
Yes.
because it's situational. Take COVID, for example. I'm very sure that there were so many goals that we aimed for, like not just you and I, just people in general aimed for, which couldn't be realized. That's the word. Which couldn't be realized because, COVID happened. There's so many limitations that happened.
My lecturer told me how he had so many plans because this is his last year. This is like his retirement age. So this year he's going to do this super great. This year and last year he's going to do all these great stuff with his students because it's his last year teaching. But then COVID happened last year, so he's like, well, everything's ruined now. He's going to retire soon, and he's stuck at home.
I mean, in fact, there were lots of plans.
Yeah.
Or like when 2018, when you had like a few things that you want to do and to change yourself, but then it couldn't happen. It may have been partly your own fault. I do not know, but it was definitely
that's actually
because of our father passing
a good
away.
point as well, because when looking at the goals that you can't reach, sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It's good that you want to. It's good to achieve your goal,
and it's good to stick to it.
Yes, but then at the same time, like for example, in my case, back in 2018, I wanted to do all these things, but then I managed to achieve that goal because our father passed away. But instead, what happened was that because of that, I actually
because
improved.
of our father
Because of our father passing away,
things
happened which helped me improve in aspects which I did not think of, which helps a lot in building maturity. Because before that, I didn't notice
because you weren't mature yet.
Yes,
no,
so
it's kind of a joke, but yes.
But because I did not think that, I did not realize that those things are actually something that are important. Well, if someone were to ask me if that is important, I would know it is important. But it's not the first thing that comes into my head when it comes to improving myself.
Think it was important. You may have thought it was important, but you didn't actually know it and understand it, how important it is. So that's like one aspect of it. But the other, and so sometimes when you're too strict on it or have too high aims and you couldn't reach it, you beat yourself so badly for not being able to achieve it. I know that from experience because I'm like, there's no such thing as impossible. There's just a willpower. Okay, I know about setting too high aims, like going to the moon. That's like just being unrealistic. But if things are realistic, the whole situational change, I couldn't grasp that because it doesn't matter. Situations can change. You can still be able to reach it because it's all about willpower. in some ways, I do still believe sometimes that we give up too easily when the situation changes, and that shouldn't be the case.
I do that too often.
Yeah, so there is that other side of like, to allow yourself to not be able to reach certain goals, yet to not make it an
Habitual.
excuse.
An excuse, yeah, that's the thing. But also habitual, because once you start to make an excuse, it can become habitual somehow.
Yeah, but then regardless, even if it's
true.
not,
Because
a
in order for you to become habitual, you need to make an excuse first. Yeah.
yeah, so to not, allow yourself room. So I guess it's like what that requires is sort of like an understanding of where you are, how you are, and where the world is.
Yeah.
Like some things are just simply impossible to reach once the constant change. Because like if you were to do some, I don't know, equation, like some scientific experiment, let's take for example, you have the constant variable. If you change that constant, everything else would change. You may be able to still reach that endpoint by changing certain other things, but there are times when you could simply like, yeah.
I mean, taking COVID back to COVID as an example, the constant of there being a pandemic or not. It's just a simple yes or no.
Yeah, but then see, for example, like if your goal was to make yourself healthier, like fitter in the sense of like exercise, COVID does hold yourself back in the sense of you couldn't exercise outside, you couldn't jog outside, you couldn't go to the gym if you're a gym person, like stuff like that. But you can still work out at home. So in that case, it is, even though the constant changed, you can still
work around it.
Yeah. So, but sometimes there are just things that you couldn't, like what, for example? I mean, if your aim is to be punctual at school every day, you can still be punctual with virtual school. Yeah, I'm trying to find an example of something that you couldn't reach because of it,
Finish constructing this building.
Yeah, that's impossible.
Yeah, that's impossible because buildings constructions are like put on hold.
Yeah, so that would be postponed, and there is no way around it, and that's like a wild example. But there would be some examples that would fit. Some people perhaps they want to make their shop better. To gain certain amount of profit this year.
Yes.
And their aim is not to like gain more money, but rather to like fix their habits.
Yes.
Like be more productive in selling, be more, outgoing, like put more effort. And even though when COVID happened, you can go online, there were two problems. One, it's not that as easy to compete.
Yes.
And there's so many strategical. And there's so many strategical changes. You might still need to pay rents for your shops. And then there's also the other problem where so many people are losing income, and so they couldn't buy in the first place. So there are some things that you couldn't reach because of that. So to find that balance of what you can excuse yourself and what you shouldn't, I think requires a deep understanding of your own self and your own situation. I don't think there's like a textbook of like do this, But I think one of the things that helps me to gauge what I can and can't do is to keep track of my habits and actions in general.
Yeah.
So like habits in the sense of when I want to build a certain habit, I track like today I do it, today I don't. Why? If I don't do it, I have a mental idea of why I didn't do it so that I can gauge, what I'm capable of, or is it just me being lazy, And if it's actions, I can gauge like if I can read this much in this time period, then I should be able to read that much. And if I couldn't read that much, why is it that I couldn't reach that much? So like you have a better idea of your own self and your own being.
I think that reminds me. That's actually among the things that I'm having a problem with now, because I try to track my habits, but the problem is that I track my habits so that I do not forget to do the things that I want to do. The good habits that I want to practice. The problem is that I forgot to
track your habit.
Yes, I forget the habit to track my habit in the first place. I need to manage that. So that's something that I plan to work on this year.
So going on to the next part, how do you plan to tackle your habits? Like your goals, like how do you plan to achieve them and make sure you reach them, etc.?
I'm still shaping that.
Okay.
I tried setting up a to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
I forget
You forget to check your to-do list.
Yeah, I forget to check my to-do list. Like, I made it so that every time I turn off my browser, it will turn out at the front. I'm like, okay, I turn off my browser, and I'm like, Control T and open something, and I just forget that the to-do list is right over there in the first place. So I really like to arrange my desktop background, my desktop layout in general, so that it looks nice. So I'm going to make adjust the theme so that it can accommodate having a to-do list right there.
Yeah.
So hopefully with that I will be able to.
I guess you can also do things like reminders, like alarms.
I have that with the app, the habit tracking app, but I don't know. Somehow it just eventually.
Maybe you have too many notifications.
That's
you need to sort out make sure that the notification that pops up.
I could set a priority for notifications.
Yeah.
That's true. I only set the priority for WhatsApp. I haven't set for anything else yet. Yeah, that I could do right after we finish recording this.
So so that's your plans to reach your habits. I know that I work best with a calendar and a planner. In fact, I know that when I do not have a calendar and a planner, I work worse. I can see it. It may be biased. Like when I do not have it, I'm like,
panicking.
Panicking, and I'm just like, I can't do it, and etc. But then I do feel a lot better with a planner and a calendar, and so regardless, it's better to just have them. I want to try to be better without calendars and planners, but then now I have so much exams. I'm like, you know what? I'll just have a calendar and planner. I'm so sorry if I'm jumping topics, but the thing about New Year goal is because of the many things that happens, the many things that changes in the new year, like for example, new school term. There's so many things that's dependent on the new year. Office works, I'm pretty sure there's end of year accounting and stuff like that. So there's so many restart, like a reset. When you come to a new year, that it is practical for you to have certain goals for a new year.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't exactly have to have a new year goal.
You could just have a goal right now.
By day. You can have a goal by month. You can have a goal by your birthday, because technically you gained a year. You're older now, It's just that often it's practical for me.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure for some others it's just tradition, or for some other people it's just cool,
For me, it's easy when you have that sort of motivation to it serves as a motivation that this is a new year, new me. That's what people always say, new year, new me.
Yeah, but then how about birthday?
Exactly.
Me,
so it's also the same, and you could also technically
have many goals.
Put it as every 300 days. Not 356 or what? 300 days.
There's just anyway.
Yes, it's just so many ways. But then for me, it's easier when you have everything just following this year.
I think for me it is practical because of the whole new school term, etc. Because I used to go to school anyway.
That's a good point as well.
Yeah.
In general,
many things in general change as a product of New Year. So So in my case, I think the whole New Year thing, the goal for the whole New Year thing is that internal change, etc. Because I think throughout these last few months, I kind of went through a lot of things that made me realize a lot of my my internal struggles and weaknesses. So I'm okay, I'm doing all these preparations to help me become better, and coincidentally it coincides the New Year thing, and I'm okay, let's just make it a New Year resolution, because it's cool to have one. But in the sense of being more efficient, having healthier habits and stuff like that, I have goals in this month, that month. It's not even concrete. It's not even every month I have a goal. Sometimes there was this one thing that I made. I printed out after our father passed away, and everything's a mess. I printed out this, I can't remember if it was August or September declaration, where by August or September I would have achieved this and this and this and this and this.
I did something similar, not then.
Yeah.
But let me see. December 2019, I planned out like a whole thing of what I will be achieving, fixing my and such by August 2020.
Right.
I did manage to reach some of them.
2020. This is 2018.
Yeah. I did manage to reach some of them, but most of them I did not manage to. So I postponed it to August 2021 because it was because the thing is that's the thing. It's partly
situational, but also
partly myself, and also there are certain things which are literally just unreachable. But then at the same time, if somehow if I just properly did everything, and it will be technically possibly possible. I'm not sure exactly if it will be possible, but then there are things which I feel at the moment are just not
just impossible. I guess maybe you can sort out, like in making goals, you can sort out like you should definitely reach, like it's definitely in your hands to reach it. It's just you. The higher aims that you have to work harder, like it's still possible, but you have to work harder. These are the easier goals. Then the ones that you have to work harder, but you can still do it. And then kind of like the bonus goals, for the ones that's less realistic. Like it would be really cool if you achieve it, but it's like lots of situational influences, kind of hard, etc. So like that may actually help you keep track of your goal better, because at least you will reach the most important and these easier ones, and you do not just say everything is hard because you couldn't reach one. Because it's so easy to demotivate yourself when you couldn't reach one, From your perspective, what do you think, because I find it interesting that, when you said that these are the things you want to achieve, usually you're relating it back to like, because last year you couldn't do this, or the year before that you couldn't do this, so how exactly, like, do you, when you want to have a goal, do you just like reflect back on the past year and like compare?
Often just because the easiest is to reflect on the past, because when I track my goals on every year, having the goals and every year, and then I kind of like look back, if I am able to achieve that goal, I would look back to why I can't reach that goal. So the reason why, for example, the reason why I wasn't able to properly do as I've been learning German for a long time, so one of the reasons why I cannot speak German like a lot is because I did not manage. It
takes a lot of time. True.
I know, but like I feel like
I feel like
I could have done better. With the effort I've put. So one of the reasons is because I did not arrange my time properly, and I kind of like always just study for a week, and then I abandon it for 10 months.
And language requires practice.
Yes. So that's something that it keeps on. I reflect on. I feel like, okay, so in order for me to reach that goal, I will have to reach this first. So being able to solve that. So looking at that, I would look at what I did that year, which look at how much
you've done the previous year.
In the previous year. So that's generally one of the reasons why I always compare it to previous years, because look, I want to reach this thing that I cannot reach that year, so I will try to fix what, and like what's stopping me.
That's probably the kind of things you reflect at the end of the year, like what you've done and what you haven't done. Right.
Generally speaking.
When you reflect, do you reflect with the idea of looking for things to be better?
Looking for things to fix.
Right. That's interesting, because when I do my end of year reflection, in general, I just reflect. Yeah. But then you do notice, things that.
That's why I like in the previous episode, I talked about how I would write this end of year entry. So by writing down almost each and everything, like this chronological chronicle of me throughout the year, basically.
Chronology. A chronology of your life,
basically that, but in a more narrative way. Then I am able to like see one by one, this is the things that it's sometimes not chronological, because I'm like, oh, I forgot I did this, because I'm just writing this one entry,
and plus it would already somewhat be from a biased perception that's not accurate. So, but
then sometimes that helps, because when I write that, and I write it and I start to think, why am I thinking of this way, thinking of it this way? Because that wasn't how I thought when it happened. And I start to notice how the perspective changed as time goes on, and from there I could like try to look from a neutral perspective.
I guess that's the thing that I mentioned in writing. Was it in our Building Healthy Hobbies episode where I was mentioning about the thing about writing in this sense, like, logging and journaling and stuff, is that when you write, you are able to interact with your thoughts, so they don't just stew and marinate and stay still, but they actually progress and change. So you are not pent up, you are not stuck or like frustrated and upset about one thing that then, yes, it seems this way, but then on with hindsight, you realize why and how, and you're able to go past it.
Yeah.
That is interesting. I do not know, when I build a habit, like have a New Year's resolution, I guess in some ways I would like have like it from the product of like a positive reflection, but then sometimes I just have these amounts of things that I know I want to do, and so I just need a motivation to make myself do it. And it's okay. You can, okay.
That's anyway because for me as well, because the origins of my my resolution actually is from what I want to do. Though because of that I will set the goal. So technically it is originally that way, but then it's already expanded. And sometimes because of the origin, the first not saying it is, but for example, the first resolution I've ever made when I was like 5 years old or something, whenever, I can't remember when I start making resolutions. Because of that, I have this goal, and I have this goal, and I have this goal, and it just expands into trying to improve myself. That's
a cool thing.
Yeah, true.
That's a cool thing. I think another point in helping yourself to reach a goal, for some people, definitely for me, which is why I was mentioning about calendar and planners, though calendar definitely, is sometimes it really helps to have things visualized, to have the thing right in front of you. So you can track your progress, like you can see your progress. That's the concept of, I can't remember what's it called, like this habit concept building. I can't remember. There's an idea where like if you track your habit, where you write it like right in front of you, it helps you build it better. For me, it's just like the idea of like when I have things visualized, I can see my life, and I know that I shouldn't be too over. That's one thing that I think I should try to practice, to not be too future minded. Like I plan my future too much, to such a detail. So, but then when I have a calendar, I can plan my future better, which I should not do too much, which is one of my New Year's goal. But I still do, and I mean, you have to plan your future in some ways, It's just that I think what I plan and how strict I am to the plan that I have to change. So yeah, that's interesting, because like it's interesting to see the many aspects and perspective of like having a New Year goal and resolution, because for some people they're trying to find what are some kind of goals that they can make, and they try to look them up, like, wow, New Year's goals, and say, okay, that sounds cool. I think the best way to find a goal is to look at yourself, like, to reflect on, like,
it's kind of the thing,
because what's the purpose of
exactly, because the thing that about goals is that, well, you can have many types of goals, but then the best,
well, define best.
So one of the good ways, according to my perspective, about goals,
from your perspective,
from my perspective, I'm getting all the words mixed up, right? So is the changing yourself aspect. So
that's for the better.
Yes. So for to change yourself, in order to change yourself, you have to look at yourself. Because if not, you don't know what to change. I mean, you could say, oh, I'm going to change my cooking skills. But
you don't even know what level your cooking skills
Perhaps
is
you're already the best cook in the world. But you don't know it, and you think you're, it's good. Cool. It's good that you want to improve still, because
it's good. Yeah, you can never be the best.
You can be the best, but you can never be perfect.
Because define best. Cooking is so broad.
Okay, perhaps. But like in certain things, perhaps you can be the best, But then even when you're
You can be, but it's just say one of the best.
okay, so for example, you have two people in a room. One is like a master chef, and the other is like he just burns the kitchen down. Then that one's the best in the room.
Yeah,
but then
in
he
the
can still
room.
be better.
Not like the world.
Yeah. But he can still be better.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to say. Like,
Okay.
even though you're very good, it doesn't mean that you do not have to
Yeah.
improve. But at the same time, if you do not reflect on yourself, you don't know if you're good or not, and you don't know where to improve.
Yep.
So that's why.
One thing that's just fun to revisit. When did you start? Why did you start building New Year's resolution? Just because?
I can't remember. I'm definitely sure it's just because like when I was small, and like, oh, people do this, so I'm like, it's probably starting from my sisters. Hearing from my sisters. Back to role models and such.
I can't remember exactly how I did, but then I'm quite sure that it was something about finding out that you build New Year goal, and I think perhaps something about our father, because in the first place, the reason why I journal and keep a log book, like keep a diary, like just have like my thoughts, was because our father was like, I think it was something about our father saying like, I can't remember exactly, but then I feel like it was something about him saying like, having a goal is a good thing. Why do you have a goal though? You should not have that sounds like him. You should not just have a goal because
for the sake of having a goal.
You should look into why do you want to have a goal? What kind of goals are good goals?
It goes back to mindfulness actually.
Yeah.
So when I was small, the purpose of me having goals just because I want to have a goal, because that's what people do. So I kind of like have, but I think that's the thing. It's good to, in the first place, set that mindset, set that habit to have goals.
Yeah.
For children when you're small. This kind of goes back to both role model and also habits, building healthy habits.
Okay, one thing though, what is the best way for you, your own self, to keep on being motivated in reaching your goal, attaining your goal,
I think it goes back to the thing that I want to do. So like if I really want to eat chocolate today, I would work my way to eating chocolate today,
right?
Because or like going to the basic of you're really hungry,
so it's just highly dependable on your mood and your goal.
I will try to arrange it so that it will.
See, for example, your German goal. How do you motivate yourself to reach it?
Because I want to be able to,
Yeah, but then sometimes you're just too tired. How do you motivate yourself when you don't feel like, Like, of course, keeping yourself reminded of the result that you want to achieve is the best way to motivate yourself. But sometimes I don't want to do it, is higher than
because when it comes to German, it's a bit hard. There's certain things like studying. You will have the consequences of not studying. You will you will not be able to like.
But sometimes you just don't want to.
Sometimes you just don't want
to.
Yeah.
So how do you keep on motivating yourself?
That's a good point, because I don't really know how. I think that might also be the problem why the reason why sometimes just forget about German and just don't really do it. Because you're like,
because I'm pretty sure you fall into those pits, you know?
So and there are things that like I really really want, like I know that's just some certain hobbies, but some days I just feel like and especially when those things are not important, I'm like
I think how I motivate myself is I think to an extent I make such a strong rule of not giving myself an excuse, and I have such a bad experience of like the whiplash of like when you do not do something, like when you do something that, say for example, if you're building a healthy habit, you broke that habit. Sometimes I allow myself spaces when the day is just so bad, or I know that I am just not in the situation. I mentally allow myself and tell myself this time it's an excuse, an excuse from it. But on days when I definitely know that I do not have to skip it, yet I skipped it, I'm like, I get such a strong, like after I skip it, I'm like, this is so bad. And I've been having that so many times that frustration, first, when earlier on it crippled me, like makes me so demotivated to do anything, but then eventually when you start to pick yourself back up, which goes back to the whole internal thing, that I'm building on, it makes me motivated to reach it. So I guess like when you said that the consequences of not studying, to remember the consequences, like, oh man, you don't want that consequence. I think that definitely helps motivating. Some people do things like, for example, they depend on the day and the time. Like if they're on a diet and they really love, like they're on a sugar diet, so they cut their sugar, but they really love cake. So if they do not eat a certain amount of time, they get to have a bit of cake.
Yeah.
Some people do not agree with that. I think it's fine as long as they do it in moderation.
So and you do not like make it too easy. For example, just 1 hour of not eating cake, and you could eat. That's a very drastic. Yeah, but like okay, going more realistic.
1 week.
1 week, yeah.
Yeah,
1 week.
A cake a week, I think.
A cake a week
is
too lot. So a month.
It still depends on the
the
piece of the cake and how much sugar is in the cake. But a piece a month, I think, is a lot. Like if it's your standard piece, a week.
Yeah.
Like if it's that standard triangle piece, I think a week piece is a lot.
Yeah.
I may be biased, I don't know. But then
the thing is, I mean,
in the first place, sugar is not necessary.
Yeah.
But then
it is necessary, but not to that point.
Additional sugar? No.
Oh, right.
Yeah, cake.
Yeah, cake.
Yeah.
Cake sugar.
Yeah, cake sugar. So, to do that motivation thing more logical. And I guess those are the kind of like. There's another way to like. Also, I think that whole thing of like separating goal and resolution, and also separating like goal, highly achievable, less highly like easy, moderate, hard, unrealistic, but you still kind of want to reach it. Like that separation also can motivate you, because as you reach these easy goals, you're like, okay, you can do it.
Yeah.
If you have them in one list, there's so many that you can't do. You're like, you can't do it. And even the easy ones, you're less motivated to do. I think it's good to remind yourself that you're trying, and just to keep trying, and to mentally remind yourself that you are trying, and to see the effects. Seeing the effects can really help you motivate yourself. Like sometimes you're like, it's impossible. How do you achieve that? But then you look into how much you have achieved,
Yes.
That's it. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any ideas on like what's your goal, what's your idea on goal building, what are ways to motivate? Because I feel like
the thing is that one thing
it's still kind of like open question, and like we still do not have a concise conclusive. We still don't have a conclusive answer for that. So what do you think is like a good way to
what do you
motivate
think
yourself?
we should do to improve the podcast?
Yeah,
because
definitely.
that's part of our New Year's goal
resolution.
So to help us reach that resolution. And
do follow our Instagram, because we're having some plans that we're planning for the podcast and the channel in general. So we might update from there. It's instagram.com/oskida_ig. We might either update from there, or if we have ideas, we might make polls so you can vote and help us decide on what to do. And that is all from us, I think.
I believe so as well.
Yeah, what is your New Year's resolution? What do you think of New Year's resolution? Do you think it's important? Do you think it's not important? Do you think New Year's goals and resolution is overrated? Maybe it is. I mean, I don't think it's overrated.
Some people
might be over-celebrated.
It would celebrate it, but like overrated is.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
There's no reason why it shouldn't be rated highly.
It's like promoting healthy habits.
Yeah.
You can't really be overrated, because there's something good. In anything like eating habits, sleeping habits. I mean, general daily activity habits. So many things.
It may be over-celebrated in some ways. Like, it's not that big. There's other kind of, like, you can still do new month goal. You can still do new day goal.
You can do birthday goals.
Yeah, like, like according to, like, for example, for us, we can have like a new hijrah
calendar,
goal, or like, for like the Chinese, they can have their new year,
calendar.
Like, like
There's so many time
so
time
it
measurements
doesn't
you
have
could-
to just
or
be
300 days.
it just 100 days. That's a good amount of days. So it doesn't have to be, or like even just, I think, like, okay, you are now 2 weeks to your birthday. By the time you reach your birthday, you do this.
Like
there's
the
a lot of those.
August declaration thing.
Yeah, that I had. Yeah, it was kind of like because I wanted to start studying a certain month because of some certain things that happen, or like before the school term start, or when the lockdown happened, when a lot of people, when they already know that the lockdown is going to be unlocked down, they have like these things they want to achieve before the lockdown. So when they go out, they're like a better person, like, just, it's good to have goals in general. So it doesn't have to be just New Year goal. But is it overrated? I think so. Over celebrated? Probably. Yeah, that's it. So thanks so much for listening. It's been a really nice time making these podcasts, and I hope that we hope that you enjoy this podcast as much as we enjoy making it. Yeah, that's until next time. Bye.